Have you seen any of it?
Rolling Stone article?
Yeah, I got some specific quotes. Well, there's one quote here. Let's talk about this section because it, of course, created an unnecessary drama on the intersphere, and I'm cooler talking about it now. I know we've tied our back and forth about whether or not how much of this we should acknowledge. I'm cooler talking about it because James Gunn clearly pays attention to all of it too. So I'm like, well, if he's going to pay attention, I'm going to pay attention a little bit more too.
I wonder if he watches our show.
Maybe that'd be nice. Maybe he watches your DC Studio show. That would be. I
know he watches that show.
Yeah, he should.
He has to.
Well, okay. So there's a few things here. Superman vulnerability, the visual effects shot. He had said some things about Marvel, and then some things about Batman. We're going to have to go through a lot of this stuff.
Okay.
So the Superman vulnerability. Let's go through this one first. There's kind of a lot to read here. There are things that I know I don't explain that I don't even want to say out loud, but I wanted Superman to be vulnerable. I see the online things. Who would beat whom? Homelander or Superman or fucking whatever. Adam Warlock or Brightbird. And I'm like, this is the fucking stupidest conversation. Like, so then whoever would win this fight means that they're the best because I'll just go out and write Godman who can destroy you with a wink. And I win all the fights forever, but I didn't want a Superman who could punch planets. And also, we're creating a whole universe now. So what's a girl with wings going to do in the face of that? So he's a little less powerful. Green Lantern or Guy Gardner's pretty effing powerful. They're all pretty powerful. Honestly, and talking to people, a lot of people are like, I like Batman better because he can actually be beat. And I get that. So we have a Superman that can be beat. So in other news, he's making Superman a bitch.
Yeah.
Did you hear this?
Fallible?
That's what he is. He's a bitch.
I don't want to relate to my characters.
Super bitch.
I want to look up to them and admire them from afar. Yeah. Is not Ultraman a character? Okay, so Superman has had many iterations. Superman has been around for 80 years plus. Superman is a character that, I mean, nearly 100. Superman is a very long-running character, and depending on who's writing him, beyond just which decade you're reading from, it's going to have a level of power, depending on the arc, even within a writer's long, if they've got a run on Superman. I think the ones I personally connect to most are the ones where it's a character that I can identify with in any way, because then you go, wow, this character that is stronger than us, which he inherently is, that is larger than life, is still relatable, and I can connect to them wanting to be good. If someone is so removed from you and they do something good or wholesome or for the betterment, but you don't identify with them, it doesn't really affect you. It doesn't really matter. When people that are very different than me make a choice, I don't go like, what would I do? Because I don't relate to them at all. So when you've got a character called Ultraman and you've got a character called Superman, they're not characters called Invincible, because spoiler alert, we got that guy. So I think it's important to have there be a plausible deniability while still being true to the character. And that's the line in the sand, is whether or not it's true to the character. If they make Clark Kent, fragile and make Superman even more fragile, that's not Superman, but that's not what he's saying. So I think this is more how I see the character. I have not seen the film as of now. And I think that it is a very tricky thing for James, because both Man of Steel and his Superman are going to have people that argue this is Superman. And guess what? That's how opinions work, because they're both right. That's the character.
Yeah. I mean, this is a conversation that we've been having for a while. That's why we like the two opening shots that he's done, which did create a controversy of Superman looking like he's been beat and hurt. That makes you connect. You watch a guy rise from circumstances that are beating him down. That's the only way you really feel inspired, is overcoming challenges. And what I love too is the consideration of how he's speaking to the bigger part of the universe. You think about Justice League, and a lot of time you're like, well, they have Superman. Superman could take care of most of this. We don't really. He's as fast as Flash. He's as strong as Aquaman. Stronger than Aquaman and Wonder Woman. Do we really need that? Even in Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I adore. What happens when they're fighting Steppenwolf? Suddenly Superman shows up and he's there to just
taking care of all that. There's a reason they had to kill him and take him away for a long time. Yeah, because that's the character.
Because that leaves them feeling more vulnerable to Steppenwolf in that movie.
Yeah.
But when Superman's around, it's not as vulnerable of a situation, because that is the Superman who could punch a planet and everything. So
they had to invent kryptonite. You know what I mean? Like, kryptonite wasn't in the origin of Superman. It came later.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah, it was part of the radio show. Kryptonite was invented to give their context to having some adversity in the radio show. So like that's a newer thing than Superman is, because you need to have adversity.
I like the idea of vulnerability, of it being kryptonite, because that's the thing that brings them closer to home. And a lot of the times people with like trauma or weaknesses, it's the things that make you a little bit more closer to family. Like sometimes people, when they experience like a family trauma, they disassociate from all family because it's a reminder. So there's kind of like this cool metaphor. When I was reading Birthright, I started picking up on that. Read Superman Birthright.
Holy crap, what
amazing.
a book.
That's easily my favorite Superman comic I've read so far. I got to read. What's the next one?
A Superman for All Seasons.
I can't ever remember the title.
For All Seasons.
For All Seasons, yeah. I'm going to read that next. I'm going to try to power through it because I'm invited on a very special podcast that I can't announce yet. But I'm going to try to read it beforehand. But yeah, that
he also couldn't fly in the beginning.
Oh, wow.
Superman could leap tall buildings in a single bound. He couldn't fly yet.
Yeah.
So these are things that people are like, that's not Superman. He evolves.
No. I think having a little bit of, because he still looks insanely powerful in the trailers. He's incredibly powerful, but you need a way to root for him, as opposed to, you won't feel stakes if he's not vulnerable at all.
Right.
And if it's only he needs kryptonite, then he becomes like repetitive.
And I've always loved that Superman's, to me, biggest weakness is that he's trying to be everywhere at once. And that still sounds like this is part of it. Like when Superman is knowing he's trying to be all these things, I think James is going to bring that to it.
Yeah. Okay.